Our next guest has unveiled bipartisan legislation that aims to block the Trump administration from easing curbs on AI chip sales to China. Joining us right now to discuss this, Senator Pete Ricketts of Nebraska. What kind of support do you have on your side for this argument at this point?
Well, good morning. So this is a bipartisan bill. So not only is it being introduced by myself and Chris Coons, but we've got Democrats Jeanne Shaheen and Andy Kim, and the Republicans Tom Cotton and Dave McCormick. And actually what this bill does is actually just codify what the Trump administration's current policy already is. So it says that we're not going to sell the high-end AI chips to China, like the Blackwell chips, for example. It gives the Secretary of Commerce the authority to review this after 30 months and update the standards of what we're going to do. So it really is just taking what the Trump administration is already doing it and giving it the force of law, putting it as a statute so that it's got really more long-lasting effect to it.
So what do you make, though, of this argument that Jensen Huang of NVIDIA has made repeatedly, which is effectively you want to win by effectively crowding out the others, meaning if you don't give them the chips, Huawei and everybody else both will have an incentive to make the chips, which they have anyway, but you're already seeing them daisy chain some of these things together to get the kind of similar output that some of the top chips from NVIDIA can create.
Well, first, a couple points, right? Xi Jinping has said he wants to dominate AI by 2030. So his goal is already to make sure he is not dependent on the United States for chips or anything else for that matter. And they've already dumped $150 billion in trying to make that happen. So they are working rapidly to make sure they're not going to be dependent on us. No matter what we do, they are going to try to do that. If they didn't need these chips, they wouldn't smuggle them in. So they still are dependent on us for these chips. And if you think about, well, what's the whole key to dominating AI? It's really three things. It's the people, which we've demonstrated we've got to innovate. Now, we got to be careful because Communist China can create 27 million engineers over a decade. So they got a lot of people they can throw at this. The second thing is power. They're building power left and right. They've got 33 nuclear power plants under construction with 43 more being planned. In 2022, they were permitting 2 new coal plants every week, so they are developing power quickly. But the third thing is the compute power. Do you have the chips that can actually generate the kind of power that they need? And they do not have them. So we want to make sure that they don't catch up in that category. Right now, our chips are 5 times more powerful. We produce 10 times or more what they can produce. So we want to keep that lead. And by, again, making sure that we keep the high-end chips and we're not allowing these high-end chips to go to China is one of the ways we can maintain that dominance in AI.
In terms of the economics of this all, do you think there's any value to trying to sell the flip side of this is, in the Trump administration, I think this calculates into it a little bit, has talked about, should NVIDIA sell these chips and the U.S. government collect a piece of it? What do you make of that prospect?
Well, I'll let NVIDIA, that sounds like something that NVIDIA can work out with the United States government. I don't want to get in the middle of that right now. I think what we want as a government, what are we in the business of? We're in the business of securing the American people, right? We're trying to keep people safe. How do we keep people safe? Well, we keep the United States safe by making sure Xi Jinping doesn't come to dominate the world. Here's the risk we run if we give them these AI chips. If China does dominate AI, we will be using their models, their applications, and their authoritarian values. If we win this AI race, it's going to be our models, our applications, and our values. So we already know, for example, in their AI models, that they censor things that they don't want people to know, that they're going to put their thumb on the scale about how this looks. That's not the kind of world we want to live in. So we want to make sure that our models are the ones that are dominating. We want to make sure it's our tech stack that's being distributed around the world. And the way we do that is slow Communist China down so they can't dominate, they can't win.
Senator, I don't want to live in a world that Facebook and Twitter were living in under the Biden administration either. So I wouldn't just blame, would you? So, depending on who's calling the shots, we're we're not completely free of blame in this country either. So I don't know how you do it properly. I mean,
well,
you know what I'm saying. You remember what you could and couldn't talk about 3 or 4 years ago. It was unbelievable.
Well, that's absolutely true. You know, that's absolutely true that we saw that censorship, the weaponization of the Justice Department under Biden. We also saw they had a really bad philosophy of how they wanted to do it. I mean, the Biden administration wanted to have like just 3 AI companies that they could control. That would undermine our very advantage in innovation. This is why we're winning, because we innovate. We've got a free market. And this is why
had a Ministry of
China's losing.
Truth. We almost had a person, a total whack job, in charge of the Ministry of Truth. Remember that?
And the difference is we have elections so we can change bad policies. China does not have that. Xi Jinping is going to continue to pursue their bad policies. But we got to that's what we have to understand is they're not a free market, right? We're not competing on a level playing field, so we can't give them the AI chips.